Hi, everyone, and welcome to another English grammar lesson here at Study English with Frank. In our series so far, we have talked about some of the major groups of words in a sentence. We've learned about verbs, nouns, objects. Well, today we are going to add one more major group, and that is prepositions. Let's go. So, do you know what a preposition is? I know it's kind of a long word, maybe even difficult for some of you to say. Prepositions. 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 Prepositions are those fun little words or groups of words that help us understand important details about the people, places, and objects that are in our conversations and writing. There are actually a lot of different kinds of prepositions. In today's lesson, we are going to look at two of the most common types of prepositions. We're going to learn how prepositions help us to know where things are located in relation to the noun or the pronoun of our sentence. They also help us understand when things are in relation to time. One more thing that you should probably know about prepositions up front is that while there are a few rules that you can learn and follow that might help a little, you need to know that the best way to learn the right preposition to use in any given sentence or phrase is to just do a lot of listening to English. Watch a lot of English movies and TV, read a lot of English books, and watch a lot of listening lessons right here at Study English with Frank. We have some up already, and we'll be making a lot more so that you can practice listening to how English speakers form their sentences while using prepositions. Visit our channel often, or better yet, subscribe, so that you will be able to find all of our listening lessons as we post them. It's really the best way to learn the right prepositions to use for any English phrase, because there just are no hard and fast rules about prepositions. All right, the first group of prepositions that I want to look at today are probably the easiest to learn and understand. These are words that help the listener know where things are located. Some English textbooks call this a space relationship. Others call it a place relationship. I think the best way to understand this is to see this as having short helper words that help us know where things or people are located in relationship to other things or people and where they are located. Let's look at some examples. This is Sally. Sally loves to play with boxes. If you are telling your friends about Sally and her boxes, you may find it helpful to tell where the boxes are in relation to Sally, or where Sally is in relation to the boxes. Where is Sally? Sally is in the box. The preposition in helps everyone know where Sally is in relationship to the other main thing in our sentence, the box. And notice how the preposition does this quickly and efficiently. It makes our sentences much shorter. We could call prepositions shortcut words. If it wasn't for these wonderful shortcut words, we would have to say a lot more to help our listener know where Sally is playing with a box. We might have to say something like, Sally is playing with a box and right now has located herself inside the box. That is long and cumbersome. Instead, if we use the preposition in, it shortens the sentence a lot. We can just say, Sally is in the box, right? Let's take a look at a few more examples. Sally is on the box. Sally is behind the box. Sally is under the box. Sally is between boxes, or between the boxes. So that is a good example of how we use prepositions to help us understand locations of objects, people, places, and things in relationship with other things, people, places, and things that we are talking about in our conversations. Prepositions are very helpful as we are trying to communicate ideas. Now, let's look at one of the other major groupings of prepositions. Prepositions also help us understand a relationship with time. Prepositions can tie words together in such a way that our listener will know when in time we are talking about. For example, would it be proper for me to say, I was born 1963? I suppose it's okay to say it that way, especially when you are still learning English. People will understand you. But it is better when you add a preposition like in. I was born in 1963. Let's look at another example. In Canada, the weather can be very hot July. It's okay, but why not add a preposition to make it sound like you are a real English speaker? It would go like this. In Canada, it can be very hot in July. When is it hot in Canada? In July. Notice that this use of in is a little different than the use of in for those spatial relationships that we were talking about a minute ago. Sally is in the box. We plant our garden in the spring. Do you see how the two are different? In these two examples, the same English word can have slightly different meanings. One is where in is where things are in space. Sally is in the box. We're planting our seeds in the garden, but we do it when? In the spring. So one is space, we're putting the seeds in the soil, but the other is all about time. We plant our garden in the spring. You see the difference? It's just slightly different use, but it means different things. Prepositions can be like that. I know English students like to learn rules, right? But there are some things, like prepositions, that you really just have to learn phrases, memorize phrases, and not just individual prepositions, or you're going to get it wrong. For example, just when you think that you should use in to talk about time, we plant our garden in the spring, you will then hear someone say, I go to work at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock. You go to work at 9 o'clock? Why didn't you say, I go to work in 9 o'clock? It was in the spring. How did it switch to be at 9 o'clock? Is 9 o'clock different than the season, the spring? Well, there's just no hard and fast rules. You have to memorize English phrases that contain prepositions. I take my lunch at noon. Not in noon. I take my lunch at noon. I go to bed at midnight. I know it can be confusing. Which do you think sounds better? I go for a walk in night. Or, I go for a walk at night. Well, I go for a walk at night is more correct. But notice how quickly things can change if we add the word the. What sounds right to you? I go for a walk at the evening. Or, I go for a walk in the evening. In the evening is correct. What about I go for a walk at 8 o'clock, or I go for a walk in 8 o'clock? That's right. I go for a walk at 8 o'clock, right? You know, this just illustrates why it is so important to do a lot of listening to English as it is spoken, so that you can get a feel for what is right, because you've listened to so much English. Just one word of caution here. If you are watching a lot of English movies, just know that there are some characters in some movies that will often use the wrong preposition because that's the role that they're playing. They might be playing or portraying a character that is not very well educated, or maybe learning English themselves, or may have grown up in an English-speaking subculture that uses a lot of slang. These would not be good movies to watch when you're trying to get a general feel for what sounds right. You know, a lot of students write to us and ask us, why does English say it that way? They want to learn a rule, right? So that they can apply it everywhere. But in English, sometimes there just aren't any hard and fast rules, and you just have to take the time and energy to learn what sounds right, because you've heard it over and over again by listening to a lot of English. I'm going to put this on my list of things to do to create more listening lessons to help you with this. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below if this sounds like something that you would like to just hear a lot of English spoken so that you can get a feel for those prepositional phrases and which ones are correct. So let me know, and I'll add that to my list of things to do. There's one more big one. Do you know what it is? That's right, it's on. People will say, I work out on Sunday. Not in Sunday, not at Sunday. I work out on Sunday. I go to church on Saturday. I go to work on Monday. But then it changes again when we're talking about months. Those were days, but what about the months? Let me know what you think sounds right here. I will be working in June. Or, I will be working at June. Or, I will be working on June. Which one do you think sounds correct? You're right. I will be working in June. I can't go on vacation in June. I will be working in June. I will be on vacation in August. Not on August or at August. I will be on vacation in August. There's one more thing about time that we should talk about. Sometimes we want to talk about a length of time, not just a day or a week or a month or a year. We want to talk about a duration of time. Here is where a lot of different prepositions can come into play. Let's look at some examples. We have been living in Canada since 2014. Since 2014. We couldn't say we have been living in Canada at 2014 or on 2014. That just doesn't make sense because we want to talk about how long we have been living here. What's the duration? How many years? And so we say since. We're trying to say how long we have been living in Canada. And that is a time period, a duration of time, or extended time. Another example. Our friends will be visiting us for 2 weeks. We're communicating the idea that our friends are coming and they will stay with us for 2 weeks. To communicate this idea clearly so that people will understand, or at least they won't misunderstand what you're trying to say, it wouldn't be good for you to say, our friends will be visiting us in 2 weeks. That would mean something completely different. It would give your listener the idea that they will arrive, they'll get here in 2 weeks. We can't say our friends will be visiting at 2 weeks. It needs to be for 2 weeks. This is a duration of time, a length of time. 2 weeks they're going to stay at our house. If I were to say, I will be finishing my project by 6 o'clock. When I use the word by instead of at, it means that I could be finished before 6 o'clock. That communicates the idea, I could be ready by 5. I could be finished my project by 5. When I say, I'll be done my project by 6 o'clock. If I changed that and said, I will be finished my project at 6 o'clock, then I'm communicating the idea that this project is going to take me right up until 6 o'clock. I'll meet you at 6 o'clock, no earlier. Do you see the difference just a little preposition can make? The difference between at and by. Here's another example. The big project I am working on will be done within 2 years. Within. Within means that sometime during those 2 years, sometime within those 2 years, the project is going to be done. I might be done in a year. It might take me the full 2 years. I don't know. Sometime within those 2 years, I'm going to finish up my project. Well, that should be a good introduction to prepositions and how they can help us know time and place or space. Prepositions can also help us understand things like direction and location. But we'll leave that for another lesson. This one's already running kind of long, and I want to finish up by going through some examples for you so that you can get a feel for what sounds right. Are you ready? Sound good? Let's go. Here are 20 of the most common prepositions. Above. Above. We flew above the clouds. Across. Across. We went across the river by using the bridge. Around. Around. We sat around the table. At. At. I'll meet you at the park. Behind. Behind. What is behind the curtain? Between. Between. Someone has come between us. Beside. Beside. Beth likes to sit beside the cat. By. She does yoga by the sea. Down. Down. The market has really come down this week. During. During. During the summer, we always go to the cottage. During. And this is another example of that relationship to an extended period of time. Sometime in the summer, we like to go to the cottage. Sometime during the summer. 4. Every day, she takes a nap for 30 minutes. From. From. She has moved here from Iran. In. In. She goes swimming in the lake every day. Inside. Inside. Food stays fresh longer inside the fridge. Into. Into. Would you like to drive into the city today? Of. Of. Is she a friend of yours? This use of shows belonging or connection to. Is she a friend of yours? Here's another example. This painting is beautiful. Is it one of yours? On. On. I put your coffee on the table. Through. Through. The train went through the tunnel. Under. Under. I found her hiding under the bed. With. With. Do you want to go for a walk with me? Well, there you have it, some examples of how prepositions can be used, and that'll get you started on the way down the road to learning how to use prepositions correctly. But if you really want to learn them well, like I say, you have to start listening to a lot of English conversations. So I encourage you to make time in your schedule to start watching some movies, some English TV, reading some English books, and coming back here to study English with Frank and finding our listening lessons here. Well, that does it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the lesson. We'll see you next time here at Study English with Frank. So long for now.